Mr. Chair, we're live.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Clerk, and good evening, everyone, and all those present here in chambers. I'd like to call this Development Services meeting to order. Just by way of housekeeping matters, and before reading the land acknowledgement, I'd like to ask those who are present in chambers to silence their cell phones, and for members of the public speaking at the podium and council members, before addressing council, please take the time to adjust your microphone so you're speaking clearly and directly into the microphone. The Township of Oro-Medonte acknowledges that we are situated on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe people and ancestral territory of the Huron-Wendat. The Anishinaabe include the Ottawa, Ojibwe, and Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. It continues today as the home for diverse Indigenous peoples, including the historic Métis community in Penetanguishene. The Anishinaabe people continue to have an enduring relationship with this land, specifically the Chippewas of Rama First Nation, the Chippewa Tri-Council, and the Williams Treaties First Nations. The Huron-Wendat Nation also continues to pay respect and protect their ancestors and heritage on this land. We honor the Indigenous history and culture that has thrived for millennia in this territory and the treaties that bind us together as partners in the spirit of shared and sustainable and prosperous future. We are all treaty people. Our commitment begins with acknowledging the truth so that we can move forward together towards reconciliation. Does anyone have a commitment and has to leave early? Councillor Hutchison, please.
Yes, Deputy Mayor, through you, I have to leave the meeting at 6:30 today.
Okay, thank you very much. May we have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
Moved by Greenlaw, seconded by Hutchison. It is recommended that the agenda for the Development Services Committee meeting of Wednesday, April 3rd, 2024 be received and approved.
All those in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, if you find yourself in that situation, please raise it at that time. May we have a motion to approve the draft minutes of the previous Development Services Committee meeting?
Moved by Hutchison, seconded by Young. It is recommended that the draft minutes of the Development Services Committee meeting held on Wednesday, March 6, 2024 be received and approved as printed and circulated.
Thank you very much. All in favor? All opposed? Seeing none opposed, the motion is carried. Okay, so prior to the commencement of the hearings and meetings tonight, I just want to summarize the process overall. Each application will be considered separately. Staff will advise of the purpose and effect of each application, provide any relevant information, note any correspondence that has been received to date, and advise of any statement received from the applicant or if the applicant intends to make a presentation. If so, the applicant will then be given the opportunity to make a brief presentation. After the presentation, any members of the public that have been registered to provide comments who are in chambers will be given the opportunity to speak to the application being considered. The Deputy Clerk will advise of those who have registered, and finally, staff will confirm if any further correspondence has been received during the hearing or meeting. There will be a separate statement to be read at the start of each scheduled public hearing. Thank you. We'll begin tonight with item 5A on the agenda, which comprise of items 5A and items 6A to F. 5A is a notice of receipt of a complete application and the notice of particulars and public access, notice of public meeting for proposed amendment to the zoning bylaw of Oro-Medonte for lots in the Craighurst Limited Partnership development. Could we please proceed with the meeting?
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I'll be presenting the slides for this particular application. We're joined this evening by Celeste Phillips, who is the agent for the applicant. So the applicant is Craighurst Limited Partnership, and they're applying to amend the zoning bylaw for their subdivision lands, which are located at 1932 Horseshoe Valley Road West. The current zoning on the property is Residential 1 Exception 301 and Residential 2 Exception 343. The official plan designates the property residential under the Craighurst settlement area, and the current use is land being pre-serviced for development. Next slide, please. The image on the left shows the an aerial with the subject lands highlighted with red, and the image on the right is the sign posted on the property advertising this public meeting this evening. Next slide, please. The purpose and effect of the proposed zoning amendment is to further amend the zoning of the land zoned Residential Exception 301 and Residential 2 Exception 343 to provide relief from a number of sections of the zoning bylaw. The first section has to do with the front porch encroaching on the front yard, and the current provision is that a porch may encroach by 1 meter or 3.2 feet, and the zoning amendment proposes that it encroach by 1.5 meters or 4.9 feet. The second proposed amendment has to deal with the interior side yard setback, and the current provision is 3 meter side yard setback or 9.8 feet, and the application is for interior yard setback of 1.2 meters or 3.9 feet. The third proposed amendment deals with a driveway location on a corner lot, and the current provision is that a driveway has to be located a minimum of 15 meters or 49.2 feet from an intersection, and the applicant is proposing a setback of 10.5 meters or 34.4 feet. Next slide, please. This slide shows an image of the draft approved plan of subdivision by Craighurst Limited Partnership, and basically all the lots are being covered by the proposed zoning amendment. The next slide, please. This slide shows an image of 2 lots, and it's used to demonstrate what the impacts might be with respect to the proposed setback. So the lot to the north or above the lot below shows the porch that encroaches on the front yard, and it would be encroaching by the 4.9 feet or 1.5 meters. The 2 lots together show the 1.2 meter setback from the property line for each proposed unit. And the image at the bottom shows the setback of the driveway from the intersection of 10.5 meters or 34.4 feet, the corner lot. This concludes staff's summary, overview of the planning context and summary of the applications. There's no decision to be made tonight, Mr. Chair. The purpose is to receive public comments, and a recommendation report will be prepared by staff, and the applications will be considered by committee at a future date once comments are received. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vadabancourt. Madam Deputy Clerk, was there any communication received with regard to this application?
Yes, correspondence received from Enbridge Gas dated March 14, 2024.
Thank you very much. I'll now ask the agent, Celeste Phillips, who is registered to speak to the application, if she wishes to provide any further comment or indicate anything further to be added to the staff report. Thank you very much. Ms. Celeste, please, if you just...
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, members of council and members of staff. I am the land use planning consultant for the applicant, Craighurst Limited Partnership. I just wanted to give you a little bit of background as to why this application is before you this evening. First of all, there's no change proposed to the setbacks of the buildings. The comments that Mr. Vadamancourt mentioned are the setbacks for the driveway. So we have a situation where the building is already permitted to be 1.2 meters from the interior lot line, but the driveway has to be greater than that. It has to be 3 meters. So you end up with a situation where you have the driveway setback 3 meters and then the garage setback 1.2. So it's just a complication because your general provisions have very detailed setbacks about driveways. So that is why we're making that request. And similarly with the driveway on a corner lot, my thinking is, and in consultation with staff, is that the standard was probably created at a time when you were proposing and approving rural subdivisions. And in this case, we have lot sizes that are more urban size. So we have, for example, a 15.2 meter corner lot. And so if the driveway has to be set back 15 meters from the corner, there's no room to put in a driveway. So that is another sort of peculiar provision. And then the last one relates to setbacks for balconies and decks. And in my experience, there's no issue at all with achieving the 1 meter encroachment into the rear yard. But it's once you add the steps on to that deck or porch, then you're in violation of the zoning bylaw. And that is why the request is being made for 1.5 meters to allow for those steps to access the decks. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Committee members, any questions for either staff or Ms. Phillips? Seeing none. Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone who's registered to speak to this matter, Madam Deputy Clerk?
No, there were no additional registrations received.
Okay, and is there anyone else present who wants to speak to this matter? Seeing none. Has there been any additional correspondence being received with regard to this matter during the course of the meeting?
No, Mr. Chair, nothing further has been received.
Thank you very much. Any final comments from members of the committee? Seeing none, thank you very much. The committee wishes to thank all those for your participation, either through your submission or by written comments or oral comments during the meeting, and we'll consider all matters going forth. Copy of the decision or the meeting proceedings will be mailed to the applicant, agent, and anyone who has submitted written comments or provided oral comments during the hearing in regard to this application. Thank you all. We have to wait 1 minute before we can proceed with the next item. All right, with that, we can proceed to item 6A, application 2024A10, Mark and Joanne Beatty of 14 Dorothy's Drive. This public hearing is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act to obtain public comments with respect to the minor variance application submitted by Mark and Joanne Beatty on lands municipally known as 14 Dorothy's Drive. Please be advised that this hearing is being digitally recorded for the purpose of creating a public record. Only after comments are received from the public, township staff, and requested agencies will the Development Services Committee make a decision on the minor variance application. Madam Deputy Clerk, has been any correspondence received on this matter?
Yes, correspondence received from Eric Brophy, December 15, 2023, Greg Loglin, December 18, 2023, and Township of Oro-Medonte Operations Division dated March 20, 2024.
Now turn the meeting over to Andy Karaskakis, Manager of Planning Services, who will explain the purpose and effect of the minor variance application and any written statement received from the applicant. Mr. Karaskakis, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Minor variance application 2024-A10 has been submitted for lands located at 14 Dorothy's Drive. The subject property has a lot area of 0.14 hectares and contains a single detached dwelling and a detached accessory building, and is within a residential plan of subdivision. The subject lands are zoned shoreline residential and designated shoreline in the township's official plan, and they currently contain a dwelling. The image on the left here shows an aerial image of the subject property. The subject property is highlighted in red. So the neighboring context is single detached dwellings. And the image on the right shows the front of the property as viewed from Dorothy's Drive. And the proposal is to permit a front entryway addition at the front of the dwelling there to essentially enclose the front door leading into the dwelling. So the purpose of the minor variance is to seek relief from the front yard setback of the zoning bylaw. The applicants are proposing to construct a 8.6 square meter enclosed front entry addition and are requesting relief from the minimum front yard setback, which the shoreline residential zone requires 7.5 meters. The applicants are proposing to reduce that to 5.9 meters to accommodate the proposed entryway addition. The applicant's site plan is shown on the right side of the screen. The existing dwelling is shown in a blue hatch, and the proposed addition is shown in a yellow rectangular addition at the front of the dwelling. And therefore the front yard setback is to be varied, which is requesting 5.9 meters. A couple of images on the screen here. The applicant has prepared some architectural drawings, some exterior 3D renderings of what the proposed front entryway addition will look like. And the images on the right show just the typical elevation profiles of the addition. Few images here taken of the subject property and the adjacent property. So the image on the left shows the subject property with the yellow notice sign posted on the front of the property there, and the relation with the lands, the adjacent property to the west. The image on in the middle of the screen there shows the subject property there with the blue door and the white exterior, and the neighboring lot to the east. And just to show the context of the proposed addition in scale in relation to the adjacent properties. So, Mr. Chair, that concludes my presentation. The recommendation in the staff report is to approve the minor variance application on the basis that the application meets the fourth test of a minor variance and is consistent and is in conformity with provincial policies and statements. Staff are recommending standard conditions outlined on the screen and in the staff report. And Mr. Chair, I'd be happy to answer any questions committee may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Karaskakis. I'll ask the agent, Bobby Leppington, who is registered to speak to the application, if they wish to provide any comments or indicate anything further to be added to the staff presentation.
Thank you. Through you,
oh,
Mr. Chair.
thank
My
you
name
very
is
much.
Bobby Leppington of Design by Bobby, and I do have a small presentation. Am I supposed to share my screen? I apologize. There we go. Can everybody see my screen?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Just give us one moment, please.
Okay, join as a panel.
Oh, you are now live.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, as I said, my name is Bobby Leppington. I have a brief presentation to share in regards to this application. And if we could see the next screen, I just wanted to re-highlight the setback that we have is angled on that front yard and a curve to the road with a great setback there to the actual travel portion of the road. And our proposed addition is up on that landscaped front entry that exists today. Next slide, please. And again, just a picture showing that front entry and what it looks like today, and the next slide showing what we propose it may look like with your approval, and closing that front entry. And a standard split entry home, when you walk into stairs, has no room for closets or shoes, and this is our opportunity to put a proper foyer entry on the front of this home. Next slide, please. We believe that our request is minor in nature, that we meet the intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw, and that we fit the characteristic of the neighborhood. And I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Ms. Leppington. Are there any questions from council members for Ms. Leppington or for staff? Well, seeing none. Very well done. It seems to be clear to everyone. Are there any people registered to speak to this matter, Madam Deputy Clerk?
No, Mr. Chair, there were no additional registrations received.
Thank you very much. And is there anyone here present in chambers who wishes to speak to this matter? Seeing no one. Has there been anyone who's registered to speak to this matter since we commenced the meeting or hearing?
No, there were no additional registrations received.
Thank you very much. Any final comments from the committee members? No, seeing none. Madam Deputy Clerk, may we have the motion, please?
Moved by Hutchison, seconded by Clark. It is recommended, one, that DS 2024-044, Andy Karaskakis, Manager Planning Services, Reminder Variance Application 2024-A10, Mark and Joanne Beatty, 14 Dorothy's Drive, be received and adopted. 2, that minor variance application 2024-A10, specifically to construct an 8.6 square meter, 92.5 square feet enclosed front entry addition to the existing dwelling with a reduced front yard setback of 5.9 meters, 19.3 feet on lands municipally known as 14 Dorothy's Drive, Township of Oro-Medonte, be approved subject to the conditions as outlined in DS 2024-044. 3, that the applicant be advised of the committee's decision under the Secretary-Treasurer's signature.
Thank you very much. Any comments on the motion? Seeing no comments, all those in favor? All those opposed? Seeing no one opposed, the motion is carried. This completes the application process and closes this hearing. The committee wishes to thank all those in attendance for your participation. A copy of the decision will be mailed to the applicant, agent, and anyone who has submitted written comments or provided oral comments during the hearing in regard to the application. With that, we have to wait one more minute so to proceed with the next hearing. Oh, we should have some fill music. It's elevator music, perhaps. We're going to proceed now with application 2024A12. Applicant is Glenn DiCiccio and Cheryl Gilas. The municipal address is 19 Forest Hill Drive. This public hearing is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act to obtain public comments with respect to the minor variance application submitted by Glenn DiCiccio and Cheryl Gilas on lands municipally known as 19 Forest Hill Drive. Please be advised that this hearing is being digitally recorded for the purposes of the creation of a public record. Only after comments are received from the public, township staff, and requested agencies will the Development Services Committee make a decision on the minor variance application? Madam Deputy Clerk, has there been any correspondence received on this matter?
Correspondence received from the Township of Oro-Medonte Operations Division dated March 20, 2024.
Thank you very much. I'll now turn the meeting over to George Vadaboncourt, Manager, Planning Special Projects, who will explain the purpose and effect of the minor variance application and any written statement received from the applicant. Mr. Vadaboncourt, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's my pleasure to speak to minor variance application 2024A12. It's for a property known municipally as 19 Forest Hill Drive. The property is 1.3 hectares in size, or 3.2 acres. The zoning is rural residential 1. The official plan is rural residential, and the current use is rural residential. Next slide, please. The applicants are proposing to construct a 167.18 square meter or 1,800 square feet accessory building detached garage on their property. They seek relief from the maximum size, maximum height, and setbacks from the rear and interior lot lines for the detached garage under the provisions of zoning bylaw 97-95 as amended. So the rear yard setback that they're proposing is 1 meter. The bylaw requires a 2 meter setback. The interior side yard setback, the requirement under the bylaw is 2 meters. They're requesting 1 meter. The height of the garage, the maximum permitted under the bylaw is 4.5 meters or 14.7 feet, and they're proposing 4.78 meters or 15.8 feet. And the maximum floor area permitted under the zoning bylaw is 70 square meters, 735.5 square feet, and they're proposing 167.18 square meters and 1,800 square feet. So the diagram on the right shows the location of the garage in relation to the residence on the property, and that'll become clearer a little bit later in the presentation. Next slide, please. So this slide shows the zoning of the property. This property is in a rural estate subdivision, Forest Hill Drive, off Line 1 North. Next slide, please. This slide shows on the left the aerial photo of the property. You can see that the house is set back significantly from the road. There is a little bit of wet area in the front of the property, and there's a long driveway from the cul-de-sac to the rear of the property to where the applicant is proposing to locate the garage, and I'll get into that in a couple more slides. The image to the right is an image of the sign that was posted on the property. Next slide, please. So these slides show the floor plans and elevations of the proposed garage that's to be located on the property. You can see it's a large two-bay garage. Next slide, please. So the image on the left is looking at the driveway from Forest Hill Drive, and you can see it's a long curved driveway that leads to the rear of the house. And the image on the right is looking north on Forest Hill Drive, and this is a country estate subdivision. All the lots are quite large. Next slide, please. So there's 3 images on this slide. The slide to the left shows as you go up the driveway, and the house is on the right, and then it curves in behind the house. And the image on the in the center shows the proposed location of the garage right at the end of that driveway, that straight and center of the image. And then the image on the right shows a small accessory building that's going to be moved to another location on the property. Next slide, please. So the image on the left shows the driveway just as you curve around to the rear of the property. Image in the middle shows how the driveway as it curves around, and then the image on the right is the driveway back to the road. It's quite a lengthy driveway. So the reason that the applicant is proposing the location they are is because the accessory building is to be located in the rear yard. And due to the slope of the driveway leading to the back of the house and the slope of the driveway leading to the rear of the property, that seemed to be the best spot for the accessory garage. That concludes my presentation with respect to the application. It's recommended that the application be approved because it meets the 4 tests of a minor variance under the Planning Act. It is in conformity with applicable planning policies, and it represents good planning. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vadaboncourt. I'll now ask the applicant, Glenn DiCiccio, who is registered to speak to the application if he wishes to provide any comment or indicate if he has any further to add to the presentation.
Hello?
Yes, hello, we can hear you.
How you doing? No, I'm here if there's any questions.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Nice to have you aboard. Committee members, do you have any questions for staff or the applicant? Seeing no questions, do we have anyone who's registered from the public to speak in chambers or via Zoom?
No, Mr. Chair, there were no additional registrations received.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone in chambers who's come tonight to speak to this matter? Seeing none. Planning staff, are there any further correspondence received during the course of the hearing?
No, Mr. Chair, nothing additional has been received.
Thank you very much. Madam Deputy Clerk, may we hear the motion, please?
Moved by Shell, seconded by Hutchison. It is recommended, 1, that DS 2024-040, George Vadaboncourt, Manager, Planning, Special Projects, Minor Variance Application 2024-A12, Glenn DiCiccio and Cheryl Gillis, 19 Forest Hill Drive, be received and adopted. 2, that minor variance application 2024-A12, specifically to permit an accessory building with a maximum height of approximately 4.8 meters, 15.8 feet, a floor area of 167.18 square meters, 1,800 square feet, and a setback of 1.0 meter, 3.8 feet from both the interior side lot line and rear lot line on lands municipally known as 19 Forest Hill Drive, Township of Oro-Medonte, be approved, subject to the conditions as outlined in DS 2024-040. 3, that the applicant be advised of committee's decision under the Secretary-Treasurer's signature.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions about the motion itself? Seeing none. All those in favor of the motion? All those opposed? Seeing none opposed, the motion is carried. The committee this completes the application process and closes this hearing. The committee wishes to thank all those in attendance for your participation. A copy of the decision will be mailed to the applicant agent and anyone who has submitted written comments or provided oral comments during the hearing in regard to the application. Thank you very much. Well, we're right on pace for the next item in about a minute's time. Can you cue the elevator music, please? Thank you very much. Let's proceed with application 2024A17, Karen and Tony Sotirakos of 8 Oak Place. This public hearing is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act to obtain public comments with respect to the minor variance application submitted by Karen and Tony Sotirakos on lands municipally known as 8 Oak Place. Please be advised that this hearing is being digitally recorded for the purposes of the creation of a public record. Only after comments are received from the public, township staff, and requested agencies will the Development Services Committee make a decision on the minor variance application. Madam Deputy Clerk, has there been communication received on this matter, please?
Correspondence received from the Township of Oro-Medonte Operations Division, March 20, and Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority dated March 25th, 2024.
Thank you very much. Now I'll turn the meeting over to Catherine McCarroll, Senior Planner, who will explain the purpose and effect of the minor variance application and any written statement received from the applicant. Ms. McCarroll, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie. The subject property is located at 8 Oak Place, which is in Big Cedar Estates. The mobile home park is zoned agricultural rural exception 7 and environmental protection, but the location of the proposed development is entirely zoned environmental protection. The property is designated rural, greenlands, and agricultural, and the proposed development is located entirely in the rural designation. And the current use of the property is a mobile home park. Next slide. The aerial photo on the left-hand side shows the location of the modular home, which is right in the middle of the mobile home park. And the natural heritage features are located outside of that area and are not even visible on this image. And then on the right-hand side, there's a photo of the public notice sign that was posted along Oak Place. Next slide. So the applicants are proposing to build a new front porch and a garage addition to the existing modular home, which is located in the EP zone. So they're seeking relief to section 3.1, table A5, permitted uses in the environmental protection zone. So only existing uses are permitted, and they're proposing a new front porch and garage addition to the existing modular home. Section 5.16.1C, enlargement of a non-complying structure. So it's not permitted to increase the situation of non-compliance, and in this case, they're increasing the size of the structure in the EP zone. Section 5.18, non-conforming uses. So only buildings and structures that existed before November of 1997 are permitted, and in this case, they're proposing the porch and the garage addition. And section 5.27, setbacks from the limits of the environmental protection zone. And in this case, they're proposing a 0 meter setback because they're actually going to be in the EP zone. And then on the right-hand side, there's the applicant's site plan. So you can see the garage addition. They've actually torn down the carport already, and that whole area will be a garage addition. And then there's the new front porch in the front of the modular home. Next slide. These are the applicant's elevation drawings. So the front elevation, which is in the middle, shows the garage addition on the left-hand side and the proposed front porch in the middle where the front door is. Next slide. The map on the left-hand side shows that the subject lands, well, they're circled in purple. The property itself is agricultural rural exception, or exception 7. And then there's also the EP, which is in green. And as you can see, the subject lands are entirely zoned EP. And then on the right-hand side, this map shows the Township Official Plan natural heritage features. Now, in this case here, the proposed development is located more than 120 meters away. So it's not anticipated to have any adverse impact on the nearby natural heritage features. Next slide. The photo on the left-hand side shows a view looking east along Oak Place. And then the photo on the right-hand side shows a view looking south towards the cul-de-sac, which is at the end of Oak Place. Next slide. This is the existing modular home on the left-hand side, and then on the right-hand side is the existing shed that's proposed to be removed and replaced with a garage addition. Next slide. So the front porch will be located right where that front door is, where those cement steps are. That's where they're proposing the front porch. And then the photo on the right-hand side shows the location of the proposed garage addition. Next slide. It is recommended that minor variance application 2024 A17 be approved as the application meets the 4 tests of the Planning Act. It conforms to or is consistent with the applicable provincial, county, and township planning policies, and it represents good planning. So all the recommended conditions are listed on this slide. They're all standard conditions, and I am available if there are any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. McCarroll. I'll now ask the agent, Doug Humphreys, who's registered to speak to the application, if he wishes to provide any comment or indicate if he has anything further to add to the staff presentation. Mr. Humphreys, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I trust you can hear me.
We can indeed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate Catherine and all her support going through this. We here in Big Cedar are kind of a unique anomaly for the township, from what I understand, as we're all sort of covered under one blanket image, but not when it comes to other items. And so we appreciate the opportunity to share with you our updates as we move forward in planning. And my understanding is that over the course of the next year or so, the Planning Act is going to be revised and such that the EP zoning will be modified so we don't have to go through these frustrations for minor adjustments like this to some of the modular homes going forward in the future. So we appreciate your support and everything you've done in the past and everything you're doing. And I do remind the folks that I've been doing this now for about 3 or 4 years with the park, and you people have been so gracious to be able to refund our application fees for whatever reasons in all of the other applications. So I'm assuming that that Mr. Sarakokis will be able to get his application fee refunded as well. But thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you very much for your comments, Mr. Humphreys. I know it's a difficult situation with this particular development. Do the committee members have any questions or comments with regard to this matter of staff for Mr. Humphreys? Seeing none. Anyone registered to speak to the matter via Zoom, Madam Deputy Clerk?
There were no additional registrations received.
Thank you very much. Anyone in chambers who wishes to speak to this matter? Seeing no one. Any additional correspondence received during the course of the hearing? Mr. Karaskakis?
Nothing further has been received, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, sir. May we now hear the motion, Madam Deputy Clerk?
Moved by Clark, seconded by Young. It is recommended, 1, that DS 2024-039, Catherine McCarroll, Senior Planner, Reminor Variance Application 2024-A17, Karen and Tony Sotokuris, 8 Oak Place, be received and adopted. 2, that minor variance application 2024-A17, specifically to permit construction of an 8.9 square meter, 96.0 square feet front porch, and the construction of a 50.2 square meter, 540.0 square feet garage addition attached to the existing modular home that is located in the environmental protection zone on the lands known as 8 Oak Place, Township of Oro-Medonte, be approved, subject to the conditions as outlined in DS 2024-039. 3, that the applicant be advised of committee's decision under the Secretary-Treasurer's signature.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Clerk. Any questions with regard to the motion as it was read? Okay, seeing none, may I call a vote, please? All those in favor? All those opposed? Seeing none opposed, the motion is carried. This completes the application process and closes this hearing. The committee wishes to thank all those in attendance for your participation. A copy of the decision will be mailed to the applicant, agent, and anyone who has submitted written comments or provided oral comments during the hearing in regard to the application. Thank you very much. And with that, we can move on to item 6D, which is 2024A-18. It's Joanne and Alan Fennell of 153 Moon Point Drive. This public hearing is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act to obtain public comments with respect to the minor variance application submitted by Joanne and Alan Fennell on lands municipally known as 153 Moon Point Drive. Please be advised that this hearing is being digitally recorded for the purposes of the creation of a public record. Only after comments are received from the public, township staff, and requested agencies will the Development Services Committee make a decision on this minor variance application. Madam Deputy Clerk, any correspondence received on this matter?
Correspondence received from the Township of Oro-Medonte Operations Division dated March 20 and Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority dated March 27, 2024.
Thank you very much. I'll now turn the meeting over to Catherine McCarroll, Senior Planner, who will explain the purpose and effect of the minor variance application and any written statement received from the applicant. Ms. McCarroll, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie. The subject property is located at 153 Moon Point Drive. The property is zoned Shoreline Residential Exception 2 and designated shoreline in the township's official plan. And the current use of the property is residential. Next slide. The aerial image on the left-hand side shows the dwelling that's located in the middle of the property. And there's also a shed that's located to the rear where they're proposing to put the addition. So they'll demolish it and replace it with the addition. And then the photo on the right-hand side shows the public notice sign that was posted along the road. Next slide. The applicants are proposing to build a 2-story addition at the rear of their single detached dwelling, and they're seeking relief from section 5.32, setbacks from watercourses, to be reduced from 30 meters to 12.6 meters. And then on the right-hand side, there's the applicant's site plan. So you can see LSRCA's watercourse, which is identified in blue at the top of the image, which goes across the driveway. And the applicant's proposed addition is at the rear of the dwelling, and it's identified in black. Next slide. These are the applicant's renderings. So the image on the top shows the existing, and the image at the bottom shows the proposed addition at the rear of the dwelling. Next slide. These are the views looking both northeast and southwest along Moon Point Drive. Next slide. The photo on the left-hand side shows the existing single detached dwelling, and the photo on the right-hand side shows the existing shed, which is proposed to be removed to make space for the addition at the rear. Next slide. The photo on the left-hand side shows where LSRCA had mapped their watercourse, but as you can see on the photo, the day I did my site visit, it was completely dry and there was no watercourse in that location. And then the photo on the right-hand side shows stagnant water, which is on the property located to the south of the subject lands. Next slide. This photo shows the retaining wall that runs along the south side of the property. So as you can see here, the subject lands are elevated relative to that stagnant water that's on the adjacent property to the south. Next slide. It is recommended that minor variance application 2024 A18 be approved as the application meets the 4 tests of the Planning Act. It conforms to or is consistent with the applicable provincial, county, and township planning policies, and it represents good planning. So all the recommended conditions are listed on this slide and the following slide. They're all standard conditions, and I am available if there are any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. McCarroll. I'll now ask the agent, Ryan Cranston, who is registered to speak to the application, if he wishes to provide any comments or indicate anything further to be added to the staff presentation. Mr. Cranston, please.
I would just like to thank Catherine for her report, and I have nothing further to add to it, but I'm here to answer any questions should there be it.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone, Madam Deputy Clerk, who's registered to speak to this matter?
No, Mr. Chair, there were no additional registrations received.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone present here in chambers who wishes to speak to this matter? Seeing no one. Any additional correspondence received with regard to this hearing?
No, Mr. Chair, nothing further has been received.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from the committee? Seeing none. Thank you very much. Madam Deputy Clerk. Oh, excuse me, there is one. Mr. Mayor, please.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. Through you to Catherine. Catherine, I know I see that Lake Simcoe Protection LSPP did not comment. They were notified and given the required time to respond, correct?
So through you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie, to the Mayor. Yes, that is correct. So they were circulated. They had provided comments prior to the applicants actually submitting the minor variance application, because we asked for confirmation on whether or not they were actually classifying it as a water course. Just because based off of the aerial imagery, it was hard to determine whether or not it was in fact a water course or just a drainage ditch. So they had previous correspondence. Now the applicants will be required to obtain a Lake Simcoe Conservation Authority permit prior to actually getting construction. So if there's any concerns at that point, they can address it through the permitting process.
Oh, perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. McCarroll. Any further questions, comments? Seeing none, Madam Deputy Clerk, may we have the motion read, please?
Moved by Bard, seconded by Greenlaw. It is recommended one that DS 2024-045, Catherine McCarroll, Senior Planner, Minor Variance Application 2024-A18, Joanne and Alan Fennell, 153 Moon Point Drive, be received and adopted. 2, that minor variance application 2024-A18, specifically to permit construction of a 2-story addition to their single detached dwelling with a reduced setback of 12.6 meters, 41.3 feet from the watercourse on the lands known as 153 Moon Point Drive, Township of Oro-Medonte, be approved, subject to the conditions as outlined in DS 2024-045. 3, that the applicant be advised of committee's decision under the Secretary-Treasurer's signature.
Thank you very much. Any questions with regard to the draft motion? Seeing none. May I call a vote, please? All those in favor of the motion? All those opposed? Seeing none opposed, the motion is carried. This completes the application process and closes this hearing. The committee wishes to thank all those in attendance for your participation. A copy of the decision was mailed to the applicant, agent, and anyone who has submitted written comments or provided oral comments during the hearing in regard to the application. Thank you very much. With that, we have 1 minute of silence until the next meeting. With that, we can now proceed with application 2024-A19. The applicant is John Randall, and the municipal address is 928 Bass Lake Side Road West. The public hearing is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act to obtain public comments with respect to the minor variance application submitted by John Randall on lands municipally known as 928 Bass Lake Side Road West. Please be advised that this hearing is being digitally recorded for the purposes of the creation of a public record. Only after comments are received from the public, township staff, and requested agencies, will the Development Services Committee make a decision on the minor variance application? Madam Deputy Clerk, has there been correspondence received on this matter?
Correspondence received from the Township of Oro-Medonte Operations Division, March 21, Severn Sound Environmental Association, dated March 23rd, and Joel and Deanna Ferris, dated March 27, 2024.
Thank you very much. I'll now turn the meeting over to George Vadeboncourt, Manager, Planning Special Projects, who will explain the purpose and effect of the minor variance application and any written statement received from the applicant. Mr. Vadeboncourt, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to speak to minor variance application 2024A-19. The subject property is located at 928 Bass Lake Side Road West. The property is approximately 0.51 hectares in size, or 1.23 acres. The zoning is rural residential 2. The official plan is rural, and the current use of the property is rural residential. The applicants are proposing 5 variances. It has to do with the replacing an existing accessory building, a detached garage, with a 157.56 square meter or 1,696.2 square meter detached garage with a second-story 2-bedroom residential unit. The applicant seeks relief from the maximum floor area, maximum height for a detached accessory building, maximum floor area for an apartment unit, and the restriction of not permitting an apartment and accessory building under the provisions of zoning bylaw 9795 as amended. Specifically, as can be shown on the slide, the applicant is seeking to a variance to section 5.11, uses permitted in an attached accessory building. Currently, under the zoning bylaw, an accessory building is not to be used for human habitation, and the applicant is proposing to applicant is proposing a second-story apartment dwelling unit. The maximum height of the accessory building is under the zoning bylaw is 4.5 meters or 14.7 feet, and the applicant is proposing a height of 6.4 meters or 21.30 feet. The maximum floor area of a detached accessory building is 70 square meters or 753.5 square feet, and the applicant is proposing a accessory building of 157.56 square meters or 1,696.2 square feet. And apartment dwellings, units and accessory to a single detached dwelling, they are permitted to be located in a single detached dwelling under the zoning bylaw. In this particular case, the applicant is proposing an apartment unit in an attached accessory building. And the maximum floor area of an apartment dwelling unit under the zoning bylaw is 70 square meters and 753.5 square feet. And the applicant is proposing 70.06 square meters or 754.2 square feet. Next slide, please. So this slide shows the zoning on the property, and the property is highlighted there in the middle of the property. Next slide, please. The image on the left is an aerial photo of the property, and you can see that the property is well treed and it's surrounded by actively farmed property. This image on the right is showing the front of the property with the notice sign posted. Next slide, please. This slide is a site plan proposed by the applicant, and you can see Bass Lake Side Road, the driveway leading to the rear of the property. The existing garage at the rear is going to be demolished, and it's going to be replaced by the proposed new garage, and you can see it located there. Next slide, please. These images show the elevation drawings proposed by the applicant. It's a three bay garage with a second-story apartment unit. Next slide, please. This slide shows the floor plans. The image on the left is the main floor plan, 3-bay garage, and the image on the right is the second floor apartment suite. Next slide, please. The images on this slide on the left show the property looking east, and you can see that the property is well treed around the west perimeter. Looking west to the property is the image in the middle, and again, the site is well treed. And the image to the right is looking west to the trees that buffer the property from the rural area. Next slide, please. The image on the left of this slide shows the driveway to the rear of the property. And on the driveway, you can see to the back. The image on the center leads to the existing garage. And the image to the right is the existing garage on the property that is proposed to be demolished and replaced by the new accessory building. Next slide, please. The image to the left on this slide shows the trees on the west property line that are to be preserved, and there's a number of trees at the rear that are to be preserved, and there's a condition in the conditions dealing with those trees. The image on the right shows the caps on the existing septic tank, and that septic system will have to be evaluated to determine if it's sufficient to accommodate the additional unit, and that is also a condition of approval. The minor variances are recommended to be approved as they meet the 4 tests of a minor variance under the Planning Act. They are in conformity and consistent with applicable planning policies in the Planning Act, the places to grow, the provincial policy statement, and the township official plan. And finally, that the proposal represents good planning. A number of conditions of approval are listed on this slide and the following slide. Mr. Chair, that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions that committee may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vedaboncourt. Now ask the agent, Andrew McIntyre, who is registered to speak to the application if he wishes to provide any additional comments or add anything further to the staff presentation. Mr. McIntyre, if you could state your name and proceed, please.
Andrew McIntyre at 156 Tuthope. Hello, everybody. I've just had one thing that we were wondering if we could get a minor amendment to the variance. I think George had phoned me on March 21st when he had to get the letter out for the variance, that we were only allowed, I had the original design was, I believe, 1766 square feet. So I was slightly over because the existing residence is only 1,700, but I didn't have a couple hours. So I just quickly adjusted the plans to suit to the 1,700 to match the existing residence. So the owners had measured their house actually and found that it is larger than what's represented at the township. So what I was wondering in the amendment, would it be possible to, if the house in fact, I haven't measured it or I haven't got any kind of legal representative to measure the house to see if it is in fact bigger, that if it is in fact bigger than what's at the township of 1,700, can we go back to a maximum of the 1766, what was originally proposed, if the existing house is 766 square feet and plus?
Mr. Vedaboncourt, do we have any comment on that?
Thank you. Yes, we did have a conversation, and at that time, all the information that we had from MPAC and from our information and other sources put the house at 1,700 square feet. And without any independent verification, we proceeded on the basis of the report that's presented to you tonight. The key principle is that the accessory building has to be subservient to the main residence on the property. So if the main residence is larger, then the accessory building could be larger by definition. It still has to remain an accessory building. It can't dominate the main building. The drawings that were amended were only amended very slightly. The agent did not have to modify the drawings very much to bring them under the size required. So it would be a very small amendment to the building, which is feasible. Thank you.
Could could we proceed with that modification should the independently verified measurements permit?
Mr. Chair, yes, committee could add that as a condition, but it would, as you indicated, would have to be independently verified that in fact the building is larger than indicated based on the provisions of our zoning bylaw and how we measure the floor area of dwelling units.
Thank you very much. Would that satisfy your inquiry?
Yeah,
Mr.
sure, that's
McIntyre?
perfect, yeah, and we would just have, even if the residence is, say, 100 more square feet, we would only be asking for the original of 66, so that would be what the maximum would be, what our original thing would be. So I'm not asking to make the accessory building, like if they say the house is 2,100 square feet, I'm not asking to make the accessory building just to a maximum of what the design was before at 1766.
Okay, thank you very much. Could we amend the motion accordingly?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we could. I'll look for my colleagues at the table here to provide some guidance with respect to the amendment that would be appropriate. It would have to do with the size of the residence being verified at being larger than 1,700 square feet, and that the building could increase, the accessory building could increase to
a capped maximum.
Capped a maximum of 1766.
Oh,
capped at a maximum of 1,766 square feet.
Okay, thank you very much. So,
and just, would that be something that I could measure, or would I have to get a surveyor to do that?
independent verification.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, through you, it would have to be an independent verification.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions from committee members with regard to this application? Yes, Mr. Mayor, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie. Through you to Mr. Van de Boncourt, just for the public understanding that we are permitting habitation in above this accessory building, which commonly is not permitted. But could you just give the clarification so the public understands why council would be supporting this?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, to His Worship. Yes, the current zoning bylaw only permits accessory dwelling units as part of the main residence of property. What is being proposed is an accessory unit on an accessory building. The province, through its initiatives to see more housing developed, has amended the Planning Act to provide that official plan policies allow for accessory dwelling units in accessory buildings. And our official plan has been amended to allow for that. So the planning policies have been established to permit that. Our zoning bylaw has not been amended. It will be subject to a review later this year. And it's a matter of catching up with the direction from the province with respect to permitting accessory buildings or accessory units in accessory buildings. And as I said, it's all part of the province initiative to see more affordable, more attainable housing developed in the province. Hopefully, Your Worship, that answers your question.
No, that's great. Thank you very much. I just think it's important the public understands why this, which used to be prohibited, is now being considered as a permitted use. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that clarification. Is there, oh, Madam Deputy Clerk is tied up with an amendment. Okay, Madam Deputy Clerk, have we settled upon the amendment?
Yes, I have the mover as Councillor Young and seconder as Councillor Shell, and I can read the motion.
Is that appropriate for the mover and the seconder? It is indeed. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Moved by Young, seconded by Shell. It is recommended, one, that DS 2024-041, George Fadaman-Cure, Manager, Planning Special Projects, minor variance application 2024-A19, John Randall, 928 Bass Lake Side Road, be received. Two, that minor variance application 2024-A19, specifically to permit an accessory building with a maximum height of approximately 6.4 meters, 20.9 feet, a detached accessory building with a floor area as amended to increase the proposed detached accessory building to a maximum of 1,766 square feet, 164.07 square meters, upon the owner verifying the square footage / area of the existing dwelling, permit an apartment unit in the detached accessory building, and to permit an apartment unit with a floor area of approximately 70.06 square meters, 754.2 square feet, on lands known municipally as 928 Bass Lake Side Road, Township of Oro-Medonte, be approved, subject to the conditions as outlined in DS 2024-041. Three, that the, three, that the applicant be advised of the committee's decision under the Secretary Treasurer's signature.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Clerk, and the rest of staff for coming up with that amendment. Is that amendment suitable to your purposes, Mr. McIntyre?
Yeah,
Thank you very much. Okay, are there any other, anyone else who's registered to speak to this matter via Zoom or present?
Sarah Graham is registered in person to provide comments.
Okay, may we, is Sarah Graham present here?
No, she's here, but doesn't want to say anything. So.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for attending.
And John Randall was registered as well.
Yes. And he's not he's registered but not present, so will not speak. Okay.
Thank you, and that was the registrations that staff had received, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else present in chambers who wishes to speak to this matter? Seeing no one wishing to speak, that's fine. Any further correspondence received on this matter during the course of the hearing?
No, Mr. Chair, nothing additional has been received.
Thank you very much, Mr. Karaskakis. Any final comments from committee members on this? We've heard the motion a second time. Were there any questions on the motion itself? Seeing none, Can I call the vote, please? All those in favor? All those opposed? There are none opposed. The motion is carried. That completes the application process and closes this hearing. The committee wishes to thank all those in attendance for your participation, and a copy of the decision will be mailed to the applicant, agent, and anyone who has submitted written comments or provided oral comments during the hearing in regard to the application.
Great.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thanks for doing the amendment. Great, thank you.
Okay, with that, we move on to item 6F, application 2024A11. Applicants are William and Cress Lee, 23 O'Connell Lane. This public hearing is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act to obtain public comments with respect to the minor variance application submitted by William and Cress Lee on lands municipally known as 23 O'Connell Lane. Please be advised that this hearing is being digitally recorded for the purposes of the creation of a public record. Only after comments are received from the public, township staff, and requested agencies will the Development Services Committee make a decision on the minor variance application. Madam Deputy Clerk, has there been correspondence received on this matter?
Correspondence received from the Township of Oro-Medonte Operations Division, March 20, and Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority dated March 25th, 2024.
Thank you very much. I'll now turn the meeting over to Andy Karaskakis, Manager Planning Services, who will explain the purpose and effect of the minor variance application and any written statement received from the applicant. Mr. Karaskakis, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Minor variance application 2024A11 is for lands located at 23 O'Connell Lane. The subject property is zoned shoreline residential, and the township zoning bylaw is designated shoreline in the township's official plan, and has a lot area of approximately 0.08 hectares and currently consists of a single detached dwelling, a detached accessory building, and a shed. The surrounding land uses consist of single detached dwellings to the east and west, O'Connell Lane to the north, and Lake Simcoe to the south. The image on the left of your screen shows an aerial photo of the subject property highlighted in red. As noted previously, the subject lands predominantly consist of single detached dwellings on the shoreline residential area. The image on the right shows the view of the subject property shown from O'Connell Lane, with the yellow minor variance placard posted in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. The applicants are proposing to construct a 32.8 square meter boathouse with a 23.8 square meter attached deck. And secondly, the applicants are also proposing to construct a deck to be attached to the existing single detached dwelling. They're seeking the following relief from the following sections of the zoning bylaw. So the minimum setback from the average high water mark of Lake Simcoe for the attached deck. The zoning bylaw requires 20 meter setback from the average high water mark, and the applicants are proposing to reduce that to 15 meters. Again, that's the setback from the high water mark to the attached deck located at the rear of the dwelling. Second variance is to facilitate the construction of a new boathouse. So the zoning bylaw requires a 2 meter interior or side yard setback, and the applicants are proposing to reduce that to 1 meter. The applicant's site plan is shown on the right side of the screen. Firstly, the setback from the average high water mark to the proposed rear deck is shown with a circular red circle there, which delineates the 15 meter proposed setback from the average high water mark to the proposed rear deck. And secondly, the variance to construct the boathouse. Boathouse is shown in a red rectangular image there, and also requesting the reduced side yard setback from 2 meters to 1 meter. Again, there's an attached deck proposed to be attached to the boathouse with a similar setback from the interior side lot line. So the applicant prepared some architectural renderings. So this image here shows what the proposed boathouse and the attached deck will look like from the interior side lot line, and the proposed attached deck, which is to be attached to the rear of the dwelling. And I believe Mr. Lee is there barbecuing right there on his new deck there. So again, this is just a rendering of what the proposed construction will look like as viewed from the lake. Staff conducted a site visit of the property, and as noted on that previous image there, the mature vegetation on that side yard is no longer there. As viewed from the water's edge, that's the rear, the dwelling right straight in the middle is the applicant's dwelling there. There is a light colored shed that is proposed to be removed and replaced with the proposed boathouse. And it's hard to tell on this image here, but there's a proposed deck to be attached at the rear of the dwelling. So just context here showing the surrounding properties in relation to the subject property. A couple of images here showing the proposed development. So this is looking from the, we'll call it the southeast corner of the property at the shoreline there. Viewing to the northeast, so you see the subject dwelling there, the existing shed proposed to be demolished, replaced with the boathouse. And again, showing the context of the surrounding dwellings. The dwelling to the left of that image there is a relatively new dwelling that's constructed. There have been previous minor variances that have been applied for and approved for reduced setback from the high water mark as well. So that proposed image, that existing dwelling to the left of the subject property is in fact either in line or closer to the lake than the proposed deck that's being proposed through this minor variance application. And the image on the right there again shows the context of the subject property, the proposed boathouse, proposed deck, and in relation to the abutting property to the west of the subject property. So planning staff have reviewed the proposed minor variance application and have evaluated this in the context of the test of the minor variance, and with the provisions contained in the township's official plan and zoning bylaw and the provincial policies, and are recommending approval on the basis that it does meet the 4 tests of a minor variance, and are recommending approval based on the conditions outlined in the staff report and on the screen in front of you. Mr. Chair, that concludes my presentation. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Karaskakis. I'll ask the agent, Michelle Dada, who is registered to speak to the application, if she wishes to provide any comment or indicate anything further to be added to the staff report. Ms. Dada, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. No, thank you. Thank you for staff's efforts to work with us, and nothing to add. It seems all laid out, but happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who's registered to speak to this matter, Madam Deputy Clerk?
Yes, 3 other registrations. Stephen Cartwright.
Okay. Mr. Cartwright, please. Just come up to the rostrum there and state your name, please.
Yeah, it's Stephen Cartwright. I'm here as the builder, representing as a constructability point of view. So unless there's any questions that need to be answered as far as that, I'm here to provide information. But if not, sounds like everything's been covered. So
thank you very much, Mr. Cartwright. Madam Deputy Clerk.
William Lee.
William Lee declines the opportunity to speak at this time, and I presume you're the owner. He is indeed, and verifies that.
And the last registration was Shress Lee.
Okay, thank you very much.
Nothing further to add, thank you.
Okay, nothing further to add from Cressley. Okay, with that, that exhausts everybody who's in chambers, so presumably there's no one else here to speak to the matter. Any other communications received during the course of the hearing? Mr. Karaiskakis?
No, Mr. Chair, nothing further has been received.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the committee members, please, on this proposed minor variance? Thank you very much. Seeing no questions. Madam Deputy Clerk, may we have the motion read, please?
Moved by Greenlaw, seconded by Shell. It is recommended, one, that DS 2024-046, Andy Karaiskakis, Manager, Planning Services, Minor Variance Application 2024-A11, William and Shrest Lee, 23 O'Connell Lane, be received and adopted. 2, that minor variance application 2024-A11, specifically to construct a 32.8 square meter, 353.0 square feet boathouse with a 23.8 square meter, 256.1 square feet attached deck with a reduced interior side yard setback of 1.0 meter, 3.2 feet, and a deck to be attached to the existing single detached dwelling with a reduced setback to the average high watermark of Lake Simcoe of 15.0 meters, 49.2 feet, on lands municipally known as 23 O'Connell Lane, Township of Oro-Medonte, be approved subject to the conditions as outlined in DS 2024-046. 3, that the applicant be advised of the committee's decision under the Secretary Treasurer's signature.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Clerk. Any comments or questions with regard to the motion? Seeing none. I'll call the vote now. All those in favor? All those opposed? Seeing none opposed, the motion is carried. This completes the application process and closes this hearing. The committee wishes to thank those in attendance for your participation. A copy of the decision will be mailed to the applicant, agent, and anyone who has submitted written comments to provided oral comments during the hearing in regard to the application. And thank you very much for bringing your well-behaved children. Thank you. With that, that closes both the hearings and the meetings, and the meetings portion of this agenda. We have reports from municipal officers. May we please have a motion for item 7A, please?
Moved by Young, seconded by Bard. It is recommended, one, that DS 2024-037, Andy Karaiskakis, Manager, Planning Services, Reconsent Application 2023-B16 by Northern Diversified Limited, Bruce North, 10 Line 12 North, be received and adopted. 2, that the committee grant provisional consent for application 2023-B16 by Northern Diversified Limited, Bruce North, pertaining to lands located at 10 Line 12 North, Township of Oro-Medonte, to create a new lot having a lot area of approximately 1.3 hectares, 3.2 acres, and a lot frontage of approximately 117.9 meters, 386.8 feet, containing a dwelling that is surplus to the applicant's consolidated farm operation, subject to the conditions as outlined in DS 2024-037. 3, that the applicant be advised of committee's decision under the Secretary Treasurer's signature.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Clerk. Members of the committee, the floor is open for discussion. Any discussion, questions, or inquiries with regard to this matter? Seeing none, I'll call the vote, please. All those in favor? All those opposed? Seeing none opposed, the motion is carried. May we please have a motion for item 7B, please?
Moved by Shell, seconded by Clark. It is recommended, one, that DS 2024-038, Andy Karaiskakis, Manager, Planning Services, Rezoning Bylaw Amendment Application 2023 ZBA 17, Trevor Moore, Jennifer Moore, Kevin Moore, 625 Line 12 North, be received and adopted. 2, that zoning bylaw amendment application 2023 ZBA 17, specifically to rezone the retained lands from the agricultural rural ARU and the mineral aggregate resource 2 MAR2 zones to the agricultural rural exception 356 ARU 356, and Mineral Aggregate Resource 2 Exception 356, MAR 2356 zones to prohibit residential uses and to rezone the severed lands from the Agricultural Rural ARU zone to the Agricultural Rural Exception 357, ARU 357 zone, to recognize the existing barn and the increased floor area of this structure as an existing oversized detached accessory building on the lands municipally known as 625, Line 12 North, Township of Oro-Medonte, be approved. 3, that the appropriate staff bring forth the bylaw for council's consideration. 4, that the applicant be advised of committee's decision under the Secretary Treasurer's signature.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments with regard to the motion, please? Seeing none, may I call for the vote, please? All in favor? All opposed? Seeing none opposed, the motion is carried. Item 7C, may we have a motion for item 7C, please?
Moved by Bard, seconded by Greenlaw. It is recommended 1, that DS 2024-042, Andy Karaskakis, Manager Planning Services, read temporary trailer agreement 245 Tudhope Boulevard, Gordon and Terry Horn, be received and adopted. 2, that the committee authorizes the request to temporarily reside to a maximum of 24 months from the passing of bylaw number 2024-035 in a trailer on the property at 245 Tudhope Boulevard, and the trailer is to be removed after the completion of the dwelling. 3, that the appropriate bylaw authorizing the temporary agreement be brought forward for council's consideration. And 4, that the applicant be advised of committee's decision under the Director of Development Services signature.
Thank you very much for the motion. Any questions or concerns, discussions with regard to the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please. All those opposed? Seeing none opposed, the motion is carried. I'd like to thank you very much. We have now concluded the meeting. The next meeting date is May 1st, 2024. Please mark that in your calendars for another exciting evening, and perhaps it won't be snowing. May I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Moved by Clark, seconded by Shell. It is recommended that we do now adjourn at 7:03 p.m.
May I have the vote, please? All those in favor? All those opposed? Seeing none opposed, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much, and the motion is carried. Mayor Greenlaw, over to you for the council meeting following the Development Services Committee meeting.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Lavoie. I'm going to call the council meeting following Development Services of April 3rd, 2024 to order. May we have a motion to adopt the agenda, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Shell, seconded by Young. Be it resolved that the agenda for the council meeting of Wednesday, April 3rd, 2024 be received and adopted.
All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Disclosure, does anyone have any pecuniary interest to disclose at this time? Seeing none, may we please have the motion for the draft minutes of the previous council meeting, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Bard, seconded by Clark. Be it resolved that the draft minutes of the council meeting held on Wednesday, March 6, 2024 be received and adopted as printed and circulated.
Are there any changes to the minutes? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. May we please have a motion to approve the recommendation of tonight's DSC meeting, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Lavoie, seconded by Young. Be it resolved that the recommendations of the Development Services Committee meeting held on Wednesday, April 3rd, 2024 be adopted.
All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. May we please have the motion for the two bylaws, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Young, seconded by Bard. Be it resolved that bylaw numbers 2024-035 and 2024-036 be read a first, second, and third time, passed, be engrossed by the Deputy Clerk, signed, and sealed by the Mayor.
All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. There are no closed session items. Confirmation bylaw. May we please have a motion of the confirmation bylaw, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Clark, seconded by Lavoie. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2024-037, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting held on Wednesday, April 3rd, 2024, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, be engrossed by the Deputy Clerk, signed and sealed by the Mayor.
All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And may we have a motion to adjourn, please, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Bard, seconded by Shall. Be it resolved that we do now adjourn at 7:05 p.m.
All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great evening.